actually just changing things around. So we're just going to do the closing in here because we're behind schedule, and then the bar and the snacks are set up in the other room. So we'll do a closing here, and then we'll move into the other room. Panelists, feel free to stay on stage. We're going to have a closing poem, and Dean Sossin's going to provide his remarks. So whatever you feel most comfortable with. No pressure.
So I thought I was doing the poem. Is that no longer
Dean Sossin.
Thanks for saving me with the pen.
So
Appreciate it.
you might want to stay where you are. One of the things that has been important to the Spinlaw conference is to draw the connections between law as an expression and art as an expression, both with value about what justice might mean and the quality of justice. This year, we're really happy to welcome back Black Coffee poet, or Jorge Antonio Vallejos. Say that again? Vallejos. Jorge, our Black Coffee poet, is no stranger to Spinlaw. He was an artist in residence at Spinlaw last year, so we're really excited to welcome him back. I also know him just as a really important community activist and organizer in Toronto, so it's great to make sure that our law school is grounded in community. I'll tell you a little bit about him. Jorge Antonio Vallejos is a mixed-race, mestizo, Chinese, Basque, Arab, Toronto-based poet, essayist, and journalist. His writing has appeared in internationally recognized literature journals such as the Kenyon Review, the American political websites Color Lines, Racialicious, and local papers such as Anishinaabe News, Extra, and the Toronto Star, as well as other publications. Black Coffee Poet is the creator of and lead writer and blogger at blackcoffeepoet.com and the Black Coffee Poet YouTube channel, which are both great, and he's also on Twitter, and I've learned a lot through his Twitter feed. He encourages people to subscribe to both for free. He loves books, boxing, mixed martial arts, spicy food, traveling, and meeting readers and writers. You can contact him at blackcoffeepoet@gmail.com and friend him on Facebook under the name Black Coffee Poet. Please give a very warm welcome to Black Coffee Poet.
Hi, thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me your time. I was looking at the schedule today, and I read things like fairness and equality in court, and so I decided to read two things today. One is a memoir essay, and it's about the second time that I was incarcerated. And so when I read about fairness and equality in court, which in my experience there isn't that many, I thought about how in the Turtle Island, which is now known as Canada and North America, Aboriginal people, blacks, and Latinos are the highest incarcerated. And it was no coincidence that I ended up being one of them, part being Latino and part being Indigenous. So I had this essay published in Descant, which is a literature journal here in Canada, and it's a very short memoir essay about the second time that I was incarcerated, and there's two poems mixed in, so you are getting some poetry as well. It's called The Bullpen. I'm driven downtown into a basement and then led down hallways, stairwells, a cell, then another cell, then. I stand in front of bars waiting to be led into a large room. I see 40 or 50 men of all shades, heights, and sizes, mainly of color. A large tinted window made of plexiglass is on the wall with a white court officer sitting behind it. An exposed toilet sits in a corner to the right of the window. No cover if you gotta go. Another barred door is at the opposite end of the door I stand in front of. Benches lay along 3 of the 4 walls. The concrete ground is dirtier and the room is colder than my previous night's sleeping quarters. Men are silent. Men whisper. Men talk. Men yell. Men are captors. Men are captive. Men are mad. Men are in their own hell. This is the Bullpen, City Hall's basement. I look around. I know no one. Different groups chill. My native brothers sit on the ground in a corner. some with their legs crossed, some passed out on their backs. Others sit against the wall staring at all the Jaganash, immigrants, visitors on their land. Several blacks from Regent Park stand by the door talking amongst one another. Two whites in the middle of the room discuss the lack of jobs out west. A Russian jeweler holding a stack of paper tells anyone who will listen that he didn't hit his wife, she's a liar. A group of brown men stand against the wall, maybe Arab or Persian, possibly the Arabian Knights from North York, or the Persian posse from Don Mills. A young triad member is the first person who talks to me. He asks what I'm there for, and he tells me he's been charged with writing a death letter to his girlfriend. I'm innocent, he says. Three East Asian men in dark silk suits sit on a bench smoking cigarettes. They look like big-time gangsters. No one talks to them, but they talk to no one. A small white man walks circles around a drain in the middle of the room. Like prayer, he is quiet, focused, present. Short brown hair, stubble on his face, his arms crossed over a tight white t-shirt, short red shorts, hairy legs, no shoes and black socks matching the filthy floor. No thermometer is needed to measure the cold. His goosebumps, hands tucked under his armpits, and constant movement let observers feel the chill in the room. A white middle-aged volunteer for the Sally Ann holds a clipboard with rolled up paper, and she yells out names from behind the bars. I'm told she makes phone calls for you. People walk up to the bars to get messages or leave names and phone numbers for her. I ask her to call my lawyer. I'm number who knows what on a list of how many pages. Breakfast comes. Coffee, black like our moods. Sandwich made of cheese, processed like our identities and rights. Bread, white like the system. I eat my sandwich and give my coffee to the Russian so he'll shut up. Thank you, I hear. A brown man much older than me and me start talking. He's Nika. I'm half Peruano. We're both mestizo, both happy to see one another, happy to see another brown face from down south, happy to not be alone for whatever amount of time we'll spend together. When inside, you look for your own, shared skin, shared history, shared home. You look for your own, shared language, shared food, shared bones. You look for your own, shared struggles, shared victories, shared water, land, and stones. Creo que me van a meter por un buen tiempo esta vez. I think they're going to put me away for a good while this time, he says. A 6-time caught for DUI. No more tickets, suspensions, community service, and overnights in the drunk tank. Picked up after leaving a booze can, he's missing work, cleaning offices, his own company. We talk of our mothers, how there's no one like them, how we fear them, how we love them. My brown brother is dressed well. A black short-sleeved dress shirt, gray slacks, and black dress shoes. He's old school. We're taught that a man always has to have a pair of black dress pants and shoes to match. I notice he has no socks. I say nothing. We watch the white man, still walking in circles, an energy around him, the don't fuck with me look on his face, his forearms and biceps thick, his square muscular jaw showing that he can take a shot, his muscular calves showing his balance and strong stance. Nika tells me that he gave the white man his socks. Me dio pena, por la gran puta, hace un frío aquí. I felt sorry for him, man. It's cold in here, he says. I'm here because of greed and violence. My brown brother is here because he can't control himself when having a good time or drowning out his sorrows. I'm not sure he's cut out for this place. The worry in his voice tells me. His way of thinking is different. I've accepted jail as a part of my life, of the life I chose to live. He's still stuck in Nicaragua, where the cops are drunk on the job and you can pay them off. My lawyer shows up, transparent glass between us. Men to my left, men to my right, questions, answers, smiles, advice. We'll think of something. It's no big deal, he says before leaving. Time passes. Nika and I keep talking. Conversation brings comfort in the new, lonely, cold environment. A white guard holding a string of handcuffs shows up at the door and yells out instructions. Everyone listen for your name and destination. I want 3 lines. Mimico, Dawn, East. Names are called. Bodies move. Cues are formed. Red faces, black faces, brown faces. Cattle shackled and shipped to different places. No podiums, no Spanish or Portuguese, no French or Dutch, no Brits, no bidding. Still, we line up to the past. One by one, men form columns. Nika and I both express our wish to go to the same place. Vulnerability brings the want to cling to something. Strength in numbers, company, community. He's called to join the line to the dawn. I'm called to the east. We shake hands, wish each other well, and never see one another again. There's a notepad going around. If you want to subscribe to my website or my YouTube channel, you can put your name and email. That would be awesome. So I read some more of the schedule, and I read things like exclusion and inclusion in law school, women in law, and then there's an exact quote that I really like: teaching justice, learning justice, leading justice. And I thought of someone who has a connection here, a connection to me, who's no longer here. And she was a warrior. She grew up in the system. She had a focus. She wanted to help sex workers of any gender, race. And she attended this law school. And she was a very strong woman. And she's no longer with us anymore. She passed on in 2011. And I found out in a really bad way. I found it on Facebook. The week before, we were supposed to have lunch, and it didn't work out. And I never saw her again. And her name is Wendy Babcock. And she used to come here. So I'm a big letter writer, real letters. I take pen to pad and I fill up those envelopes that are red, blue, and white, and I lick a stamp and I put it on. I send out, letters to people in prison, letters to friends, letters to poets that I like. So when I found out that Wendy died, I wrote her a letter, and this is it. And I really believe that she stood for, teaching justice, learning justice, and leading justice. And she fought for access, and she got into this law school, and I think she was doing well. She would have made a really good lawyer, fighting for sex worker rights. Dear Wendy, as I write this letter, I'm listening to Get Up, Stand Up by Bob Marley. It's what you believed and did. I remember meeting you at a meeting for the first Reclaim the Streets rally that we helped organize with folks in Toronto's downtown east side in 2008. You were open, honest, and respectful. Community, not individualism, was on your mind and in your heart. As ideas, laughter, and good vibes circulated the room, you were at the center of it all. Not because of your position at the table, but because you were one of the main sources of all three. Our introduction turned to group work, to lots of laughs, smiles, hugs, and flirting every time we saw each other after that. And your honesty was warm and loud. We met before Jorge at Karen and Connery's first vigil. I smudged you. Laughter followed. Seeing you in action was a pleasure. Your speeches, chants, sign holding, and telling the cops to fuck off were beautiful. When you come to mind to think of an ally who is also an activist, the two don't always meet. Your work towards stopping violence against Aboriginal women and women of color was awesome. Not only because your mind and heart teamed into action, but because you weren't Aboriginal or of color and you cared. I can't say that about a lot of white women, white people. You led in the fight to make sex workers safe. Your lead in the fight to make sex workers safe, accepted, and appreciated was of insider consent, but you didn't put that in people's face. Rather, you embraced allies on all levels, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and mentally. If an ally made a mistake, you didn't pounce on them like many activists in Toronto tend to do. You practiced patience, kindness, and self-control, and you saved your energy for the battles you saw as important. A good fighter picks their shots, remains calm, maintains balance, and strikes when they see an opening, and when the time is right. A good fighter also learns from their losses and gets back up after being knocked down or knocked out. My interactions with you saw you do all of that. You had leadership skills that most people lack, but that didn't see you pointing fingers and ordering people around. You often stood at the front lines, something that most so-called leaders are too cowardly to do. And although you knew a lot about a lot of things, you recognized that some knew more than you in other fields, and you were willing to learn by listening and doing your own research. You displayed true character at the Gladstone Gate last year when sharing the stage with other groups that disagreed with you, and with people who defamed your name behind your back on many occasions. You recognized, unlike many, that it wasn't about you. It was about the cause, the work, the people, and positive change. It's because of your words, energy, and time, and all I've written above, that I decided to join the Bad Day Coalition for a year. Seeing you work for the first rally to happen and be a success, I was assured that BDC was a good cause and organization. Your drive was inspiring, your analysis bang on, and your work ethic should be studied, written about, and emulated. I was honored to be invited to your 30th birthday 2 years ago. Walking around the Danforth saw me gather food for my poem, Shame It Isn't Fair, that you liked. A couple of months later saw the ultimate validation via your smile, followed by an embrace and a kiss when I read your white van at the corner of Greenwood and Danforth. I remember your words. This should be read at the court case going on right now. I've attached white van to this letter for you. It said that sound never stops traveling. Every time someone plays the video, it will add to the circle of never-ending words you loved. May white van be a blessing, a hug, a smile, and a kiss every time you hear it circle Mother Earth and the universe. We were supposed to meet in early July for a lunch that didn't happen. Your last week of physical life saw you inviting me out on Facebook. I wish it had worked out. We'll have our lunch once I leave my physical form and join you up there. Our much-awaited hangout sessions will see feasts of the stars and non-colonial planet traveling. Until then, prayers, poems, smiles, hugs, and a kiss. Jorge Antonio Vallejo. Thank you very, very much. You can view White Man and Shame It Isn't Fair on my YouTube channel, Black Coffee Poet. Thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you for giving me your time and your ears. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I just want to thank Black Coffee Poet for providing Spinlaw with a different take on justice, through a method that's very interrelated and not separate from the law, through art. I also want to thank him for calling to our attention to bear witness to the people who aren't here, the people who've been erased, who've been removed, who aren't able to be here today, like Wendy Babcock, who was an Osgoode student and is no longer with us. So thank you for sharing. Now that our conference is officially coming to a close, I will welcome Dean Sossin to make a few remarks, and then we'll move into another room and continue the celebration. So, Dean Sossin.
Everyone's ready to relax together, and let's get on with that. My only remark, having sat through such an amazing day, is to remind everyone of the S in Spinlaw. It's what created this event, it's what keeps it strong, and its students. This brings out, I think, so many people because it's not only led by students, and Darcel, I think, was terrific in giving a shout out to the students who had taken this on last year, the year before. It's a torch that passes, and not just here at Osgoode, of course, but U of T and the other law students from around the country and the province who come out as kindred spirits. But more than that, it also turns everyone else into the students we always ought to be in our study of law and justice. And you heard that as a theme really from the first to the last panel of how we can continue searching, learning, challenging each other and ourselves and the institutions we care about. And it takes very special kinds of people, I think, to do that, to remind everyone who comes out of that. And we had very special students involved this year, and I know that they will inspire others, just as Wendy Babcock has inspired so many around here. And it's a good time to put in a plug for the drag show in her honor that is happening later in March and raises funds for a graduation bursary in her name, so that those who do get an Osgoode education can pursue exactly that kind of social justice, rabble-rousing, thought-provoking practice we know she would have had had she lived. So it's about those links and those chains and communities and stars and all the great metaphors and reflection that you see in the art and you heard in the poetry, and we've had as a thread that has knit together a really special day. It's been an honor for me to be a part of it and to welcome all of you to be here at Osgoode to share in it. And with that, let's relax and enjoy the reception. And again, one last round of applause to all those who made it possible today. Thank you so much.